Let me just say this really plain. White folks, y'all got to stop walking around in guilt for sins that you didn't even commit. And black folks, y'all know I love you. But it's time to start walking around in bitterness over wounds you never personally suffered. So until we stop the generational guilt and the generational grudge, we're never, ever going to heal as a nation. Let's talk about it coming up next on Unshakable with April Chapman. Peace, you guys. Welcome back to Unshakable with April Chapman, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. Dear ones, you know I love you, right? Y'all know I love you. And since I love you, I am compelled to speak the truth without compromise and then help us all to apply some biblical wisdom to the cultural chaos that we are living in. So in today's episode, I've titled it White Guilt and Black Unforgiveness. And I think I got this title. I was talking to a friend and I was like, you know what? I need to do a show on this. We have to go there. Why? Because one, somebody has to. And two, it's the only way we're going to move forward until we got to deal with it. So this nation will never be healed, whether politically or socially, and certainly not spiritually, until we reconcile two things that are deeply rooted in the hearts of many Americans. That's the concept of white guilt and Black unforgiveness. So I wanted to take some time to break it all down. First, I want to talk about the weight of white guilt. Now, we can start when we talk about our white brethren, right? Some of y'all know that you are walking around apologizing for stuff that you didn't do. I don't know why you're walking on these eggshells. You're attending anti-racism workshops, asking for permission to speak on certain topics, reciting land acknowledgments, putting BLM signs in your yard like it's some sort of sacred act of penance. You're doing all of these things, but for what? Are you personally guilty of slavery? No. Did you even own a slave? Of course not. Were your ancestors possibly complicit? Maybe, but you're not your ancestors. So why are you trying to atone for sins that had nothing to do with you? And I say this with all the Christian charity in the world. Stop trying to atone for sins that you didn't even commit. First of all, if you're a Christian, that's just crazy because Jesus already handled the business of atonement. You can't do it. You are sinful and wicked. Your sacrifice is insufficient. Okay, so you don't need to think about it and you don't need to worry about it. But here's the part that's worse to me. The more you grovel, the more you're effectively empowering people who profit off your guilt. They're playing you. They are using emotional manipulation, hoping that you don't hold fast to what the gospel actually accomplished if you're a believer. And they want to put a yoke of bondage around your neck and hold you and this country in a perpetual state of condemnation in perpetuity. They'll never let up. They'll never let up. They won't let you forget. And they will remind you, even though you had nothing to do with it, that this is your fault just because of your ethnic expression. And then this culture of perpetual white penance, I'm sorry, it's not restorative. It restores nothing. It helps no one. It's just manipulative. It keeps the race hustlers alive and well paid. And then it keeps the country divided. So like, what's the point? When are you going to stop? When are you going to let it go? And now I want to have a family meeting, right? I want to talk to the black folks. This one is for us, so lean in. Auntie loves you. But y'all, this unforgiveness is eating us alive. As old as I am, I have never seen a generation that lives in the most privileged time in American history harbor so much hatred and unforgiveness in their heart. And the reason why I'm like, this is contrived. This is mass programming, because why is a 14-year-old so passionate about slavery and they've never experienced it, never met a slave, they know nothing about it? They've been taught and told to harbor this unforgiveness, and it's eating them alive before they've even had a chance to go out in the world and experience anything or flourish on their own, right? We're walking around very angry at white people, and these white folks ain't never done a thing to us. They ain't do nothing to nobody. We're out here, we're reposting trauma, we're reciting history like it's this grudge list. And we let identity politics, it just stirs up this bitterness in our souls. And then we want to call it justice. And I'm just one of those people that I'm like, yes, slavery happened. I talk about slavery often. I'm actually quite enamored with that period in time in history, not because I think that it was good, but because I believe there's so much that we can learn from it by doing an autopsy, by looking back at what happened and saying, oh, okay, well, that might explain XYZ, or, oh, no, that's the group that was complicit. So yes, slavery happened. It was real. No one is denying that. We also acknowledge Jim Crow. That happened. That was real. No one is denying that's real too. But if we're going to walk around forever mad about what happened in 1857 and don't use that energy and place it into something positive so that we can move forward, we might as well just be time travelers. Just go back and don slave apparel and go find you a plantation and go live on it, because you were acting out an observed reality that may or may not be completely true from the vantage point that you've heard it, but it's not helping you flourish today. We keep demanding reparations like we are owed something by today's white Americans. And many of us have never asked ourselves, owed by whom? Like, who owes it? I've covered this in a previous video. Who owes it? Because let's be honest, the federal government didn't enslave you. The Republican Party didn't enslave you. In fact, they put so many measures in place for liberation and for economic flourishing. And it was the Democrats that put the roadblocks in place. But even still, the party of Lincoln fought to end it. Blood was shed to end it. Black blood and white blood. So if the Democrat Party is the one that most Black Americans pledge their loyalty to today, if they're the ones that we're loyal to, why are we doing that when that was the party of slavery, segregation, Jim Crow, the KKK, the civil rights operation of the 1960s? Like, why? Make this make sense. I believe it's just mass psyop and this web of intricately webbed or woven lies that is keeping Black people from acknowledging the sins of the past by who was actually guilty and then seeking forgiveness. But instead of seeking forgiveness and unity, we want revenge and payback. And technically, I'm like, no one did anything to you, so why should you be the recipient of such a thing? And so let me give you some historical context. The historical context that I want to address is that white landowners in the South, many of them had plantations that were burned to a crisp by the Union Army. They lost absolutely everything. Livelihoods, legacies, land, even if they didn't even own slaves. Do we ever see a coalition of white ancestors form a group called Southern Lives Matters? Like, is there a movement for that? Where they and their great-great-grandkids are walking around mad at New York and Pennsylvania. Like, did we see that happen anywhere ever? No, we don't. We don't see them harboring this perpetual state of unforgiveness, even in their quote-unquote Dixie pride. And even if you see some of them donning a Confederate flag from time to time, essentially, they've moved on. They've rebuilt. And then not just that, but they teach their kids to love America, not loathe it. They recognize this snapshot in history where the North and the South fought on the issue of slavery. They lost everything. It is what it is, but there's nothing you can do about it now. So what we're going to do, let's be a country united on some shared values and principles, and let's make the best of it for all people, because this unforgiveness and hatred in the heart toward the North, it's not going to get us anywhere. But then on the flip side, once again, I told y'all I love y'all, so we got to talk about it. What have we been taught as Black Americans? What do we teach our children? We teach them, well, not me, because I don't teach my children this, but many Blacks are teaching their children that they're oppressed, that they are victims, that it is somebody else's fault. That white man over there, he's the one with the knee on your neck. You can't get ahead because of some white man. That's what they're being told, and that's not truth. That's a lie from the pit of hell. And I don't see how that empowers anyone to be the best version of themselves and to want to contribute in any measurable way to the flourishing of their country if they are being told that no matter what they do, it'll never be good enough because they just Black. So here's the biblical truth. The biblical truth, I want to bring it to scripture. Jesus said in Matthew 6, verses 14 through 15, "For if you forgive others their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses." When I read this, this doesn't read as if this is something nice and optional. It isn't optional. Forgiveness is a command. It is an imperative from Jesus. Red letters. Keep up, right? It's not a suggestion. It is not even some cultural trend. You cannot say that you follow Jesus, but still harbor hatred in your heart for people because of what their ancestors did. That is unchristlike. You will not find any support for that mindset in the Bible. And you either believe in the power of the gospel that reconciles people as well as reconciles us to God, or you don't. Now, I know a lot of the fake Christians, the churchians, the Christians in name only, who are preaching this hatred of white supremacy from their pulpits. I don't understand how they reconcile being a child of God and a victim and oppressed by white people. I'm trying to say, which kingdom do you represent? Which one's more powerful, right? This duality that they happen to live in, I don't understand it. But it's amazing to me how you can claim the name of Christ and then preach hatred and division and victimhood from your pulpit, all the while claiming to be an heir of Jesus Christ, a child of God. And when we're taught to love our neighbor, not just our Black neighbors. We're told to love our neighbors, and those who despise us and treat us wrong, we are still called to love them. And so the truth about this entire white guilt, Black unforgiveness, reparations discussion, cut my check, let's have a conversation about it. Because every few years, a new bill gets introduced, to study. They love a good study. I believe there's a group somewhere that basically is paid to do the study, and then they disperse the money, and somehow the money gets back to the politicians. But that's a separate video, another conversation. But every year or every few years, a new bill is introduced to study it. And every time it goes absolutely nowhere. And the reason why that is, it's because, one, you can't repay a sin that wasn't committed by the payer to someone who wasn't the victim. I was watching, I was listening to Daryl Bernard Harrison and Virgil Walker's episode on reparations. And they talked about, let me pull it up really quickly for you. They talked about how no one sins vicariously, so why would atonement, reparations, or recompense be handled vicariously? And when I listened to that, I said, that is some gospel-centered logic. I like that. That is a very gospel-centered, logical way to answer this question, and it's not hard or complicated. If you're a Christian and you understand atonement, propitiation for sin, if you understand the doctrine of sin and what forgiveness and life in Christ looks like, this should be easy peasy for you. Because desiring one group to atone for the sins that they're not guilty of isn't justice. It's just revenge economics. And let's just say you greedy, just say you're greedy and you want a check and you want money that you haven't earned or worked for. Just say that. I'd respect that. If you stopped trying to cloak your desires and what it is in some sort of restorative justice discussion and just say, I'm lazy, I'm shiftless, I really want free stuff, I don't want to go out here and earn it by the sweat of my brow, I just want a check. Say that so we can at least have a different discussion after we shut down the fact that no, that's not going to happen. And then once again, if we really want to talk about who should pay reparations, I don't understand, why aren't we knocking on the door of the DNC? The Democratic National Convention, yes, we've already established and proven that it was the Democrats who opposed Reconstruction. That's not a secret. It's their history that they try to run away from. They don't like talking about it, but I'm gonna keep drilling it home till it gets in your heads. They opposed Reconstruction. They're the ones that actively fought against the Freedmen's Bureau. They actively opposed both Homestead Acts, the 1862 and 1866. It was the Democrats who created Jim Crow. It was the Democrats who filibustered the Civil Rights Act. Every measurable progress that was attempted to be made to move the Black community forward economically, politically, socially, culturally, Democrats oppose it at every turn. Yet, we keep expecting the system to pay us back when I'm like, the very party that you keep voting for, they are the system. They are the system that's been opposing you then. They were opposing you then. They're opposing you now. Why are we fighting? Like, a kingdom divided against itself can't stand. Democrats are bemoaning and crying and don't realize that the ones that they actually should be upset at are themselves. It's the weirdest thing to me. So at this point, what's the solution, right? I have a clarion call to both groups. White Americans, I didn't forget about you, but I do want to lovingly tell you, you don't need to feel guilty. What you need to do is be honest. Get some courage, be honest, speak truth in love, but stop cowering. You can't help heal a nation by lying to it. Healing cannot take place if you won't be honest and say, listen, I want what's best for you. I don't wish no harm upon you, but I didn't do anything to you or your ancestors. And I don't appreciate being made to feel as if I owe you something. I don't owe you anything. And I want the government to get out of your way so you can thrive and flourish just as much as I do. But I'm not going to allow you to yoke bondage around my neck to make me feel guilty for something that I had nothing to do with. I wasn't there. If I was there, I probably would have opposed it, or maybe not. I don't know. But since I can't go back and do that, I don't know what it is that you want from me. But what you're not going to get, I'm not bowing the knee to your emotional manipulation anymore. It stops today. If we have more white Americans kind of saying that, I'm just saying, where's your courage? Speak up and tell them you're not going to do it. And then Black Americans, I'm sorry, you don't need another check. You need a changed heart. If you were on this reparations discussion and you continue to demand because you think you are owed something, you need a heart check. You need to forgive, not because anyone necessarily deserves it, but because you do. Because you need to be free. You need to be free from the bitterness and the hatred that's in your heart on the basis of ethnicity. And you need to walk in the light so you can deal with the truth of what really happened and free yourself from this victim mindset. You need to be free to build and thrive and to raise your children without teaching them to hate and demanding and continuing to champion this reparations discussion, it is a dead end to nowhere. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. And people are tuning you out because the amount of veracity and energy that you are placing on this discussion is not getting you any closer to the economic independence that you claim you desire or want. And it's not moving the needle forward in any measurable way. And so for both groups, the whites and the blacks, let the gospel be your guide. The reason why the gospel must be your guide, because it's the only message that's powerful enough to reconcile enemies, to break the generational strongholds that keep trying to make you a victim or make you guilty. And the gospel is it's a supernatural mechanism that creates true unity. Why? Because it's built on truth and it acknowledges that we're all guilty. God's wrath abides on all of us. But because God is infinitely gracious and mercy, he sets his love upon some who believe. And so we have reconciliation and peace with God and peace with one another because of what someone else accomplished. So to my listeners, if you are subscribed to this channel, do not allow the manipulation of the media to cause hatred to continue to brew in your heart. Don't let the media, the race hustlers, the political elites, stop letting them divide you. And then let's all of us be brave enough to speak truth. Forgive the past. Move forward as one nation under God, not divided by guilt or grudges. And so I'm so grateful that you chose to listen to this show. This is April from Unshakable with April Chapman. If this blessed you, challenged you, provoked you in any way, I'm encouraging you to share it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment below. If you like, you know what, I do need to let go of some of this hatred in my heart. Not some, all of it. And if you're like, yes, I'm white, and I've been holding on to this white guilt, and it's oppressive, and I can't be free from it. Listen, there's freedom at the cross for both sides. But I love you guys. Stand firm, be bold, and above all else, stay unshakable. Until next time, I'll see you guys in the next one. Grace and peace.